that the 2024 elections will be in their favor and they will constitute a government, and they have laid bare their policies for the youth ahead of the big manifesto launch, which we're told will happen sometime later in the month of August, or if you will, September. Well, that's what we know. It's 24 minutes after 8 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Giorgio Pariado is the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. He was there yesterday as well. The crowd mobbed him while he tried to get on stage. What exactly did he say? Well, here's a bit of it. Listen.
Young people of this country, we have reached a point where the only thing that matters to this government is not that we are becoming poorer or that countless young people, men and women, have lost hope in the country. The one thing that matters to Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, for the last 7 years, we have watched our democracy decline gradually and accountability thrown to the dogs. According to the 2024 Afrobarometer report, President Akufo-Addo has grown increasingly heavy-handed, stifling the media and eroding the accountability of institutions. Never in the history of our Fourth Republic have we sunk this low as a country, but all hope is not lost. I believe in our strength and resilience of our young people to alter the course of history. And let me remind all of us, anytime the history of this country has been altered, that charge has been led by young people. And come 7th December, we will lead our charge to alter history.
3FM 92.7, Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Giorgio Pariado there, popularly known as Pablo, and that's what he had to say yesterday at the launch of the Community Manifesto. Working the phone lines will bring you some conversations around this, what the details are, what there is in the meat of the matter. Try and understand what exactly is going on. John Dramani Mahama also leads the NDC. He's the flag bearer and former president of the Republic. He's hoping to get back into power, and he's been making promises. One of the promises that he made yesterday was about job creation on the back of the fact that 1.9 million of our youth are unemployed. Fifi Avikwete mentioned the NAPCO initiative, for example, that it was just a vote buying scheme. Well, the NAPCOnians also believe that it was a vote buying scheme. What did John Dramani Mahama say? Listen.
The 8-hour work system that we currently operate is woefully inadequate to generate the production, the productivity, and well-paying jobs that are needed to revive Ghana's bankrupt economy. They are also inadequate to produce enough jobs for our young people. As I stated during my John Mahama Live virtual event some weeks ago, extraordinary times require extraordinary interventions for exceptional results. Ghana is experiencing extraordinary hardships, and the youth are also choking under the yoke of these hardships. This being the case, the 24-hour economy initiative is the best and most extraordinary pathway to generating the decent and well-paying jobs that our young people need, the jobs that our young people are waiting for. We will create an enabling environment with deliberate policies for business, companies, and government institutions to operate 24/7 in a 3-hour shift system to stimulate job creation. And for the policy to thrive, the government will have to invest in security and public safety measures, including recruiting additional personnel, enhancing street lighting to promote nighttime economic activity. Essential components of the public sector's 24-hour service, that is for the public sector, would include a 24-hour ports and harbor, 24-hour customs service, 24-hour banking service, 24-hour vehicle licensing service, and 24-hour passport services, amongst others. I also intend to incentivize the private sector to operate 24 hours and targeted sectors in the private sector would include 24-hour agro-processing, 24-hour manufacturing, 24-hour construction, 24-hour sanitation and waste management, 24-hour transport services, 24-hour financial institutions, and 24-hour retail and tourism services. Aside from incentives that will be provided for these businesses that will sign up for the policy, increased demand will be driven by deliberate government procurement of locally made goods, an expanded export drive under the ETLS, which is the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, and the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. This will absorb the increased supply of goods and services that we do not use locally. These enhancements will create decent, well-paying jobs and training opportunities for you, our vibrant Ghanaian youth.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
Yeah, Suzuza.
So at least now you do know what exactly the 24-hour economy in very simple terms for the young people of this country, and what prerequisites there are that the former president says must be satisfied before the project is kicked into full gear. So we know, but we have not been told the ultimate thing, how much it's going to cost. It's very important.
It is.
Because if we're going
indeed
to add on to a security numbers, it comes with financial implications. If we're going to improve street lighting, it comes with financial implications. If we're going to have banks run 24/7, it comes with implications. Transport system, it comes with implications. So we need to quantify how much. And I don't think that we lack the economists who will be able to do this for us, or finance people who will be able to put the figures together. So as a matter of urgency, it's one of the things that the NDC must do now that the cat is out of the bag regarding what promises there are for the youth. And I'm sure that we'll find a much more elaborate plan when the big manifesto is launched later. But then they have to tell us how much it's going to cost us, because beyond the excitement that, so it means that I can drive around town if my fuel is running low. I don't have to rush to the nearby filling station because they'll close at 10 or 10:30 or 11 p.m. because I know that they'll be there throughout, and I can just go, in Tamale, for example, when I went over the weekend, has been going. There's one main filling station around there. The highway towards the airport, and they have a filling station, and the filling station runs 24/7, but they have security guards who use licensed firearms. So you dare not cross. Are we going to have a replication of that all across, or are we just going to leave it to the security men who hold the batons and chopoti and be walking around, or are we going to employ proper police, giving guns, because the guns still have to be bought and then be stationed at various points? And what about police visibility? How much it's going to cost us?
Yeah.
So the cost implication of what plans that we have should have been made bare by now. At this point, if we don't know what the cost implications are, we're just excited about the policy announcement. If we don't take care, we may get into a situation like the free SHS law, the one district, one factory, one village, one dam, 1 million per constituency. We didn't really ask how much. We're just excited about, we're going to get, one village, a dam in my village. We're going to get a factory in my village. Okay, my child will go to school for free. But we didn't ask how much it's going to cost. Now I think that Ghanaians are waking up to smell the coffee to ask. So yes, we hear you. But how much?
Yeah, it's very important. And that was my those were my exact thoughts as I was listening to the former president talk about enhanced, like you say, police visibility and security, because that was one major concern that a lot of you had when the 24-hour economy policy was announced by the NDC. Another sort of theme around this 24-hour economy is whether or not there's enough demand for what it is that the NDC is proposing. I've often said that, well, this kind of policy, in my estimation, could whet the appetite, or could then bring about that, shall I say, desire. You can create that desire. Maybe at some point you didn't want to do this particular service. You didn't know that you could do this particular service at this time. But now that it's available, the demand is then created. So that's something also I want to know. What does the NDC plan to do? If they roll it out and they realize that actually Ghanaians, we like to sleep early. We don't want to do anything after 8 p.m. or 9
That's
p.m.
correct.
What is the turnaround plan for that? Or is the NDC very confident that this 24-hour economy will drive the demand? That's what I want to know. What kind of computation goes into that? What are the projections? How do they know that Ghanaians will buy into it and Ghanaians even want to work for 24 hours?
Well, so there was also another key policy announcement that was made yesterday regarding support for level 100 students. They get free, right?
That's right.
Listen to Giorgio Parado, who is the national youth organizer of the NDC. Listen to him.
To fund academic user fee for first year students. And President Mama emphasized that we're going to use a GET fund and also look for other sources of funding. The GET fund, because it's been cut, it has not been able to do what it's supposed to do, and because they've also mortgaged it into other areas, that is what is causing the major problems. But like we are saying, once we assume power, and if we even cut waste, because if you look at the total cost, based on the costing we've done, it's about just 10% of how much we are spending on free SHS for first-year students. The academic user fee for university students is about 2,000 cedis for the year. The academic, and we are paying the academic user fee. That is what we are paying.
So you heard him, academic user fee. That's what we are paying. But here's Professor John Gachi. He is a finance person. He steps into the conversation, and these are his thoughts.
It's a laudable idea. It's a critical solution to that problem, but we can resolve what the government can do to support the university to run efficiently, because we are only talking about first year. The second year will be paying fees. The idea from fees is available, second year is available, and third year is available, and final year is available. This does not affect postgraduate and first entrance into the university. So it's just part of the money that may not be available to the universities.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
Professor John Gachi. Helen, this is a tricky one, right? Is it not? It sounds exciting, especially if you are.
It sounds exciting, for sure.
If you are, and I'm looking at the age brackets as well. I mean, the folks who are off secondary school now, or they're sitting for their WASI now. By the time they're done, and by the time we go to the election, some of them would have turned 18.
That's right.
So they would have that opportunity to be part of active society, exercising their franchise.
That's right.
For the first time in their lives. These are some of the things that people listened to in the past and voted for. Nanado, free SHS, all those things. Now, they're getting ready to lace their boots to get into the university.
That's right.
And they're being told that, if you vote for me, the first year academic user fee is sorted.
That's right.
Would it ordinarily make somebody vote for the NDC because they had this policy from them?
I think it could definitely influence their decision. Like you said, you're writing your exams, you're racking your brain how you're going to come up with that level 100 fees. Well, the NDC says they're going to take care of that. I think that would be a big incentive for the youth to vote for them. I think that is going to be a big lure. Like we've seen for NAVCO, free SHS, and so on and so forth. At least even with the free SHS, the entry year is 15 or so, 15, 16 years or so. But for those who are entering that tertiary zone, that is the age for voting, isn't in it, I think it could have a very, very big impact on the NDC's chances. However, like we know now, we're now all citizens and not merely spectators. So we are also interrogating everything the politicians are telling us. If you listen to Johnny's Bite, you know to go beyond just the sloganeering and the rhetoric.
You dig.
Yes, you dig. You open your eyes. So whether or not this new crop of young Ghanaians, the Gen Zs, you know, they have a different flavor, different characteristics. You know, you can't push them. They'll go themselves.
They'll go by themselves.
Exactly. So that could also have an impact. The new age or the new the youth of Ghana, they're a bit more discerning. They might think, say, hey, we saw what happened to our other colleagues. They were promised this. The quality so far has not been good. But I think,
and in fact, some of them had gone through the free SHS process.
Exactly.
So they know what it is going to be, or what it is. I mean, a teacher friend of mine sent me a message because last week I spoke about the fact that the children were sitting for their WASI, practicals, the visual arts practicals, and they still hadn't received the monies. They went into a CHAS meeting over the weekend. They were told that the monies would be released to them. Today is Tuesday. The monies have not been released, but the exams are ongoing.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's a failure on part of government because this is not fair. As we speak now, Parents Association are coming together, especially for science students, and I had opportunity to do science in school, so they're coming together for science students. They have to buy surgical gloves, they have to buy reagents, they have to buy, if the big conical flags, all those things are not available, they have to buy some. They have to buy the base, acids, base and salts, to be able to do all the titration and everything that they have to do. And these are not supposed to be their responsibility, because this is when government says, I will take care of everything. So why are parents now having to cough out money, at this very later date, at this emergency and top speed, just because government failed to do that? And would government, for example, allow for itself to be criticized when, people ask the question? Because it does appear that when you ask the questions, you're enemy of the state, number one, which I fail to understand why and how we permit that to happen.
You push a bit deeper and then you also get a pushback, but this is the name of the game. This is the job that you have signed up for. It's not an easy job at all. It's a great responsibility. You're working for me. If I want to call you every 1 hour and ask, hey, Masa, how is it going? I should be at liberty to do so. This is my future you are talking about. So let no government official make you think you are asking too many questions or you are probing too much. In fact, that is what you are supposed to do. That is the name of the game. That is the nature of the job. But Johnny, that's an excellent point. Maybe this crop of youth have also seen what free really means.
There's actually nothing free. I had an interview with Ochema Boaji. He's late. Maybe tomorrow I'll find that and play for you. Where he said that, look, I asked him specifically about the free water and free electricity. And he said that, look, you may term it to be free, but there's no free lunch anywhere, because if, for example, you get a tax waiver or you get a tax holiday, or say, oh, this is free, you come back to pay corporate tax, you pay income tax, you pay all those ones, pay as you earn, pay. You pay all those things, and all those things are monies that will accrue to the government. So essentially, you may be thinking that, oh, this is free, but it's not free. It's akin to you walking up to Auntie Philly to say, give me a bowl of rice, or a plate of rice, or a bowl of banku for, on credit. Oh, she would give you gladly, because you have promised to pay. You may defer the payment till the end of the month of August, but you will still pay for it.
That means it's not free.
It doesn't make it free. But at the time when you were taking the food, you didn't have to exchange money for it. So somebody will say, oh, you got the food for free. But eventually, when you come back at the end of the month to pay for it, you would notice that it is not free. You actually paid for it.
Paid for it.
So this whole concept of free, it's actually the taxpayers' money. And note, I don't think that the NDC youth wing yesterday said that the school fees was going to be, they put a free tag on it, because they realize that it is the people who actually are paying for it. So it cannot be free this and free that. I mean, in the interim, you may be getting it for free, but then in the long run, you are expected to offer some national service, something to the
unless,
nation.
of course, the NDC is coming as an NGO this time round, and they are coming to do our show. Father Christmas. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. It's your money.
The point is that it's your money, and you would have to, get the best out of it, and you have to give something in return as well. Listen to Professor Kofi Mensah. Kofi Mensah works at the University of Ghana Business School, and This is what he had to say. He's a political strategist and a political marketer as well. Listen to him.
And you see, the youth is critical. We have all heard the youth bulge. We have all heard the kind of agitations youth actually, doing all over the world. And so there is a certain urgency that we focus on this particular segment. We always said that they are future leaders, but we haven't actually made the necessary commitment to ensure that we can make use of their energy, of their positivity, of the productive sector that these people can be put to. So I think that is a good move, and it's a very huge credit, NDC. I would actually urge the other political parties perhaps take a leaf out of this and perhaps, have a very strong signal to this particular group of people. That this is a group of people who have a very, a lot of energy. So if you do not actually say do what you say you're going to do, you can expect them to critically, evaluate your government. Of course, they would not actually shy away from making both statements against you as well if you do not actually do so. I mean, having launched a manifesto is important. It sends a strong signal that you're actually taking them seriously now. But of course, they say the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating, and they would want to see indeed whether you would act on it. And I hope they would do. Otherwise, they will bring all their energies, to make sure that you feel their presence. So we look forward to a certain implementation.
That's Professor Kobe Mensah of the University of Ghana Business School asking for the NDC to stick to its promise, bring some action to it, because he thinks also that this could be a game changer if the NDC implements it well. Dr. Abdul Samed Muntaka is a senior lecturer of the current head of Supply Chain and Information Systems Department at the KNUST Business School. He has a PhD in Logistics and Supply Chain Management and is a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport UK. He's also a senior technical advisor on agricultural supply chain innovation technology. And he joins us now on the phone. Doc, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Great. Good to have you, Doc.
Good morning to the listeners. Thank you very much.
Doc, you are a youth development advocate and a researcher. Yesterday, I'm sure you followed the activities of the NDC Youth Wing when they outdoored their NDC Youth Manifesto. First of all, your initial thoughts and comments. What do you think?
Okay, first of all, let me say good morning to your listeners, your cherished listeners, and to yourself. And good morning, Ghana. I think that there were very insightful comments and promises that, for me, I will say we will wait to see how they are implemented. So, on the whole, I think the engagement was good. And if the presidential candidate engages the youth, the first thing that comes to mind is that first, the person is recognizing that the youth are important. Then the next thing for me is whether or not what the person is promising is feasible, achievable, doable, and realistic. So that is how I see everything that is promised by any of the presidential candidates.
I see. Now, let's get into the detail.
Okay.
Do you, for example, you have been with the university for some time. Do you find this first year academic user fee to be paid by the NDC if they get the nod of Ghanaians to lead 2025 and beyond? Do you see it as a feasible idea?
I am conflicted. I say I'm conflicted because I live with the students. I see the trauma people go through to try and raise the fees. And if you have checked, you realize that at least at KNUST, first years are supposed to pay 100% of the fees.
That's correct.
So it means that if any student cannot pay any part of the fees, at KNUST we have laid down procedures for the person to get to register to be a student. and that is the person has to go to the finance officer, to the provost of the college, and all these people must agree before the person can be registered as a student. So that means that anything that will take away the fees for the student will be a welcome idea, because then the student will have peace of mind. Now, if you look at it on the flip side, you realize that the university uses this money, especially from the first years, to run. As somebody who has been on council before, I know I don't speak for the university council.
Right.
But what I can say is that because continuing students take time to pay their fees, it makes the universities rely very much on the monies that the first years pay. I'm not saying it is the only money that the university uses, but it is a big part of it, because they are the ones who are mandated to pay the full fees. So if a government is promising to pay the fees, because I see how some of the students suffer to raise the money, for me it's a welcome idea. Now we move to the next level. How quickly will the government release the money, and how will the implementation go? Should the student register before money is released, or the money is going to be released to the universities before the students register? Because that is where the challenge will be. Because if those monies delay, then there could be a crisis in the universities.
I see. Now, again, you check the numbers of young people who are being churned out year on year, particularly from the free SHS cohorts. There's currently WASI ongoing, and some of them will have to go to the university, or if not all of them. These numbers that are being promised, we are told that this will start in the 2025-2026 academic year if the NDC wins power. That will be later in August, September?
Yes.
So it means that those who are sitting for their WASI now may not necessarily benefit from this. How do you think that, from political perspective, that will affect the chances of the NDC, if at all? Because if they are thinking of using this as a political winning tool.
Well, I expect politicians to see things they believe in and things they know that it's going to benefit the country. So that's how I see it. Because if it is starting in 2025, 2026, what it means is that, like you said, those in SS3 now may not benefit. But I will want NDC, if they really mean it, to not be perturbed by the fact that it may not really brighten their chances. Because anybody who believes in the future of the nation will see that at any point in time, when a policy comes that alleviates the suffering of the youth and make life a little easier for them, it will be a welcome idea, irrespective of where it begins. So I wish that NDC really actualizes this, because to be able to fund first years, it will mean that there has to be a lot of sacrifice. Maybe we have to see fewer land cruisers, we have to see fewer allowances, we have to see a reduction in waste in the system to be able to raise that money to pay the fees. For me, if they really mean it, then it's a welcome idea. And as much as I would have loved for Ghanaians to listen to the promise, I will say that once it is a national idea, NDC shouldn't be looking only at wanting to be voted for. Because if you make promises because you want to be voted for, then it means you don't even believe in it. And when you come, the tendency that you will not implement it well, or you will not even keep your promise, is high.
I see. Now, the other conversation is about a 24-hour economy, where yesterday it was broken down for all of Ghanaians to hear that it will be a 3-shift system for the same job. You are, a master in this whole information systems and supply chain, business. If we're to run a 24-hour economy, there will be a lot of supplies and goods moving from one point to the other, and products and services and all of that. Again, we have not been told how much it is going to cost us. Do you think that at this point the NDC should have told us how much? Because if it sounds too good to be true, then you might have to look over their shoulders.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jenny. I was fortunate to have had my master's education in the USA. And I was in the US for almost 7 years. And I saw the 24 economy in action. I don't think it costs money. If we are talking about the NDC coming out with how much it will cost, for me, I don't think it's about money. What happens is that when shifts are 3, people are going to work and they are going to be paid. We can request NDC to provide us with the approximate number of people that will be employed in the public sector. But I see it as a private sector thing. So what happens is that somebody goes to work at 6 a.m. and closes at 2. Because you go very early at 6, this is how I will implement the 24-hour economy if I was GDM. Because as a student of economics, I would prefer somebody to come to work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. because then the person is alert and awake. By the time the person goes to sleep, 2 p.m. is in and the person is on their way home. Now, somebody who has had a good rest comes from 2 to 8 p.m. That person is also alert and awake. So, in the private sector, drivers may not even have to park the vehicle because vehicles have the capacity to move over time. So, like STC does, one driver takes it to a point, another one takes it to a point, and the goods will arrive faster. If you look at one of the biggest challenges for us in this country, it is waste due to time. There's a lot of time lags between the movement of people from one point to another until we introduce time compression. So I see the 24-hour economy, if it is implemented well, coming in to compress time so that the waste that we have, somebody closes it at 5 p.m. and the person relaxes to polish their face and everything. By the time they leave the office, it's 6:30. But if somebody is coming to work, that person will not allow you to sit in the office till 6:30 before you go home because the person needs the decks to continue work. So we will compress time. And that is how I see the benefit to the economy coming in because goods will move, shifts will happen and people will get to work. So it may not necessarily cost the state if we are not implementing too much of that in the public sector. Now, for the private sector to be able to do that, I want to hear NDC tell us how they are going to get the private sector to be doing that. For example, if I was implementing the policy, I will begin by making sure that when you employ an additional person to run another shift, I give you a certain tax break so that you show me the people you have employed and I give you a tax break. Now, when your production grows, I give you a certain relief for maybe a year, 6 months, whatever it is, for you to be able to take off very well because this is new to us. And organizations will need time to be able to adjust and be able to implement it well.
Now, John Dramani Mahama yesterday spoke about DVLA and some other essential state institutions. So that certainly is going to come with some cost to the state if what he says is anything to go by. But then the question now comes, the jobs that will be made available, are they the kind of jobs or will they be the kind of jobs that the young people will be interested in at all? That we have a 1.9 million youth bulge in unemployment within that bracket staring us in the face dangerously. But would the jobs be the jobs they want to do?
Okay, so I'll look at it from this angle. What is happening now? Because party after party have all these youth on their neck, what they are actually doing is parking these places. So you go to almost every public sector office, and sometimes you have more people than the office needs. I can talk of Metro Mass, I can talk of DVLA itself, I can talk of most of the district assemblies. So that is where we are now. Now, what it means is that if now we will run shifts, then we don't have to have too many people coming in to even in the daytime shift, because now people are wasting. Coming to whether that is the kind of jobs that people will need. For example, DVLA have ophthalmologists. Until the current government decided to of make the checking
private
of
sector,
eyes.
right?
Yes, private. Ophthalmologists used to work for DVLA.
Right.
So if somebody finishes optometry from KNUSC or any other of the universities, you find that this person will be looking for a job as an ophthalmologist. If the person is supposed to run a shift at DVLA, the person will be happy about it. DVLA has accountants. They have mechanical engineers. They have people who did logistics and supply chain in my area. All these different people are jobs that the people who are trained in these areas already want to do. I'm sure if you go to the passport office, for example, that you talked about, you will find that we have different categories of people who have been trained and they work in the passport office. So already they are choked. So if now we introduce shifts, I believe that we will see an increase in efficiency if supervision is tight, because then these people will now be given full shifts that they have to show their productivity. And so, yes, there will be cost to the state, but I believe that the growth in the productivity will offset the cost that we will see. I just want to see that supervision will be tight. So we don't have loose supervision where the supervisor is at home, 5 people should come to work, only 2 are there, and they are supposed to show productivity for 5 people, because that will definitely make it look small.
Now, I'm reading a portion of the digital infrastructure of the Youth Manifesto that says we'll invest in digital infrastructure to expand access to digital literacy and skills, promote healthy lifestyle among young people, and enhance their political and social participation. Plenty English, but I'm looking at the timelines, I'm looking at the ability to deliver on this promise, and I'm looking also at how the youth would want to be connected with all of this. There's a big talk about digitalization, I'm sure you're aware, but how do they plug into this? Is this even a reality to begin with?
The digital space is a very big one, and so with a good intention, expansion in the digital space is a possibility. One of the things we can harness is the fact that people are now used to working on their phones. You see students even walking on the street and then WhatsApping and all of that. Sometimes when I listen to such promises, the question I ask myself is, does this person saying it actually mean it? You see, when you mean it, then you are now going to begin to look at what it would take to implement it fully. We have heard so many things that people don't mean. I believe that digital space, look, if you come to campus here, some of the students who are able to pay their fees by working online are just a lot, because they have found ways and means of opening online shops, being agents for some online portals, and they are able to get by. We can expand it and make sure it works very well, and then introduce all the safeguards for people's payments and others. I read it and I had a mixed feeling. I was happy about it in a way, but looking at the past and how we have implemented some of these things, I have my doubts. But I am sure if NDC means it and they will go about implementing it, then it is achievable and the youth will be happy about it.
Speaking of the youth, there's also the conversation about bet tax. We know that the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia-led government have imposed a bet tax on those who engage in betting. Dr. Bawumia is now going around saying that, look, there's bet tax, but when I come, I will take it off. John Mahama says, well, I want to take it off because I am not the one to encourage you to go and get into betting of any sort. Where do you stand? To tax it or not to tax it because we need the money? We don't need the money. You are an economist as well, but also you're a Muslim, first of all. So which of the hats would you wear? The economic hat or the Muslim hat?
Let me wear both. So
okay.
I'll start with the Muslim hat. Betting is not good. But let me come to the economist, and you will find that betting raises a lot of money. And for me, we need to tax it. But the question is, who do you tax? Mm-hmm. Are you taxing the betting company or the betting individual?
The betty or the bettor?
Yes. What will be the essence of this tax. Because for me, I think a betting tax should have a two-side. It should be like a two-side sword to discourage irresponsible behavior and at the same time raise revenue where the behavior will not stop. So I will start with what Dr. Baumia said. Oh, when I come, I will take it off. The question is, why did you introduce it in the first place if you didn't think it was a good thing to do? This is sometimes what I always say to the politicians. Don't do things and then later come and let it look like you didn't think through what you did. Why did you introduce it? If you introduce it for a good reason, then why do you want to take it off? When I look at what former President Mahama is saying, my question is, I believe him when he says, I don't want to encourage you to bet. So now you should be clear. Are we using the tax as a deterrent or we are using it to raise revenue? I think it should be both. If people will not stop betting, then let us raise revenue out of it and discourage those at the peripheral level. For example, if you have 10 cities and you must spend 10 cities and we will tax 2 cities, then the hope is that you will not bet. Because if you bet, then you will have to live on 8 cities. Then you are able to discourage behavior. So as an economist, I think we should tax it with a good intention to discourage behavior and also raise revenue where the behavior will not change.
And finally, before I let you go, there's also the conversation about whether the youth will get the best part of the national cake because the future belongs to them, but they're also partners for today. What do you say? Because the young people are asking for their part of the cake, and it does appear that they think they are not being given the best part of the cake as they deserve. What do you say?
I totally agree with the youth that they are not given their fair share of the cake. I will take it from three angles. If you look at what makes the youth enjoy living, formerly we used to have youth homes. These were places that if you wanted to develop any talent in sports, you just go there. I remember my table tennis skills was built at the Tamale Youth Home. Today, it is a shadow of itself, if it exists at all. Come to the Kumasi Youth Home. It is no longer existent. Now the place is full of stores. So when you sit down and you look at the national growth, the only time youth are introduced, it is when we want to attract them to parties. For example, we say we have set up a youth employment agency.
Right.
Let's ask ourselves, what jobs did that youth employment agency create? Are they jobs that are realistic? I want to see people being given the chance to work in the areas they have been trained. I have a statistician. Almost every hospital needs a statistician, so that the person will keep the statistics of attendance, of drug availability, of stockouts, so that there can be national policies to deal with them. I see that people are self-serving when they get to the very top. It's like everything is packed. I used to tell my class that it looks like in this country, the only thing that there's money always available to buy is Land Cruiser. But how does the Land Cruiser benefit the youth? I want to see a reintroduction of the youth homes so that people who want to train can go there and pay nothing or pay a token. And I think we can even give it to the military so that there can be no misbehavior. Let's have the youth homes back. Let's have trajectory. Look, people are traveling in drones outside. Can't we formalize it? If UK needs nurses, let them go through the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Right. Send them there. Ghana Embassy will take care of them while they are there. So we know the number of youth we have sent to America, to London, to whatever, in a clear program. Then I can begin to feel happy that the people leading us are thinking about the youth. In fact, once I told my class that I feel sad that I have let them down, even though I haven't had the opportunity to lead. Because I was telling them that some of those who are ministers today were my classmates, and I expect them to do better. So I encourage them to do differently. So I start with the class reps. If you class rep, you assign something to yourself. I say, you see, this is what you will do, and when you become president, you forget about the people behind you. I wish that there can be a deliberate attempt to get the youth on the table. Yesterday, President Mama was talking about Okada. If we want Okada and we think that Okada is a way to go, then how can we make it safe? How can we ensure that people who haven't gone to school can get it? Look at the technical schools. They are a shadow of themselves. I went to KTI, and I wouldn't say it has deteriorated fully, but it is not what it used to be. The question is why? Because this is where youth who couldn't continue school can go and get training. Let's activate all the technical institutes. Let's adopt a no child left behind approach. You don't like to learn, you have skill with your hand or you have skills with your leg. How can we make use of the skills you have, your God-given skills, so that you can become useful to the state? Who said we can't train Masons in a proper way? We can.
I see. Dr. Abdul Samed Muntaka, Senior Lecturer and current Head of Supply Chain and Information Systems Department at the KNUST School of Business. Thank you so much for your time. Former head, big man. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. He's also a youth development advocate and a researcher. We're grateful that you spent your morning here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny, for having me. I'm grateful.
Great.
Is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3 FM.
Baby, my funny shit. Man, no bako pe. Na me hu se me no. Makuma ko dio bin chain. Enti me hu die me. Se me ko. Ment now. Me se me hu die me. Kwani me pa me podo. Kwani. Yes so.
And if you're dreaming of going to Dubai, we'll make it a reality with Global Wings Traveling Tours for you. Join us on the 6-day all-inclusive tour from the 16th to the 23rd of August or the 15th to the 21st of September 2024. Circle the dates on your calendar, 16th to the 23rd of August and the 15th to the 21st of September 2024. Experience the best of Dubai, from its iconic landmarks to luxurious accommodations. We're talking about the incredible package, return air ticket, 6 nights hotel, 4-star, daily breakfast and dinner, Dubai visa, travel insurance, Dubai city tour, Burj Khalifa to 124th floor, whoosh, aquarium and underwater zoo. I hear the lion at Accra Zoo eats Gary photo.
Hey.
You go see an aquarium and an underwater zoo, desert safari with dinner, marina cruise and with dinner, IMG World Tour, airport transfers, all taxes, tourism fees. Let's make it a dream and a reality for you. Let's make it come true with Global Wings Traveling Tours. Book now by calling or WhatsApping 055-368-8398, 055-368-8398, or 055-018-8181. That's 055-018-8181. We're going to Dubai. We're going to see underwater zoo and aquarium. Oh, Charlie.
Wow, no.
Let's go to the phone lines now. I speak with Mr. Kwamna Bolting Herman. He's the CEO of Soft Tribe. Chairman, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am greater than Accra. Good to hear from you.
Good to be here.
This conversation about digital infrastructure, we've been talking about IT in schools, we've been talking about internet in public spaces in our schools, etc. We've been going round and round in circles about it. Is it the fact that we can't do it, or we know how to do it but we don't want to do it, or we just want to do it few noko
I think, well, really, we just have to have policies in place and enforce those policies. You know, so for instance, with the recent talk of free Wi-Fi across the country, you know, this is something that I believe should be handled at the NCA level, so that if you're given a license to operate as a telco and you're providing data services, as part of your corporate social responsibility, you should be tasked to set up ICT centers across the country. And those ICT centers should have free Wi-Fi access, as well as computers, so that the general public can, basically, if you remember, as we had public libraries, they should now be replaced by public ICT centers, where people can access information.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, I went to South Africa, for example, sometime last year, and the internet was all over the place. I mean, you enter the malls, the internet is there. You go to the wine fields, the internet is there. The internet is more like a second nature. Everywhere you go, once you turn on your Wi-Fi, you get it's just on. Why is it that we have not been able to do that, especially when we keep talking about digitalization? We say it's the next phase. We need it to develop, to survive and thrive, and to compete effectively on the global stage. What is really holding us down beyond the policy?
I think it's just an issue of focus and what our priorities are. I mean, if we realize that access to the internet is one of the most important things these days. I mean, we all remember what happened back in March when our internet fiber cables were cut. The country virtually came to a standstill. So we need to understand that it's one of the priorities, to make sure that internet is freely available in public spaces.
And in doing so, how do we draw the young people along? Because they are the biggest consumers of internet stuff, and they also use it as much. How do we draw them along?
Well, as they say, if you build it, they will come. I don't think there's a problem with getting young people to use data. I'm pretty sure that if we set up these centers across the country, the young people will definitely come and access that data. And that gives us a secondary opportunity to educate them, so that it's not just about them coming to browse on TikTok or Instagram, that we can actually capture them in those facilities and offer them areas of education that can be beneficial to the nation.
And now the benefit of ICT to the nation, maybe because our leadership over the period has not really come to understand what weight it can have on our progress. You have been playing this field for a very, very long time. Has anybody approached you to say, Kwamina, help us understand what this is, if we do this, what the repercussions will be for us, what the dividends will be? Has anybody approached you to have that conversation with you?
Oh, yes, we've been having these discussions. I mean, it's on both sides. I think leadership is beginning to understand how important this issue is. So we have been talking to the powers that be, or the powers that may be, so that it's taken as a high priority area.
Now, if we decide that we are going the full haul, do we have the capacity in terms of the financial muscle as a country to be able to achieve this?
You see, this is one area where I think it's so easy to accomplish. I think you'll agree with me that the telcos are one of the most profitable industries in this country.
I agree.
So if it is simply a stipulation of you having a license to operate, and we have the opportunity coming up with the 5G licensing that will definitely be happening over the next year or two.
Right.
So that if it's a stipulation that for you to get a 5G license, you have to set up these centers across the country. It's not going to cost government any money.
Easier said than done, somebody just screamed.
Well, as with everything, if talk is cheap, we can talk and talk about this, but unless somebody has the will to actually make it happen, we'll be talking about this in the next 2 or 3 years, and we'll be in the same position. We have had other programs trying to achieve this. If you remember, there was, I believe it's the GIFEC program.
Right.
There was some limited success, but I believe the problem is when governments change power, that's, the tendency is to scrap whatever the previous regime put in place. And that's what's holding us back, not just in the ICT sector, but all sectors. So I think there has to be some consensus that we will follow through policies. Our policies cannot be 4 or 8 year policies. They need to be 15 or 20-year policies that we all agree that we need to be disciplined and achieve them.
John Mahama is promising to have this whole digitalization agenda that will also create jobs for the youth. We have heard Dr. Baumia talk about the same thing. It does appear that they're reading from the same book, maybe different pages and with different tunes. The youth may be thinking, but if a young person has to go and make a decision on December 7 based on the propositions that have been made or along these digital lines, what should they be thinking about first and foremost before they take that decision?
That's a very deep question. I would think, one, we have to look at what has happened to date on both sides. Who has actually promised and delivered. That's very vital. And the other thing is to realize that ICT is a young person's industry. So if you want to really make an impact, you need to have the younger leaders who are part of those areas of government. And I believe that in the previous government, I believe it was Atta Mills, he had a policy of recruiting younger ministers and deputy ministers.
That's right.
And that seems to have helped, but I don't see that happening currently. So I think those are some of the things that the youth have to look at. Do they see people that they can relate to in positions of power? People that think like them, have the same aspirations as them. I think that's vital.
Thank you very much, David. Kwamina Bolton Herman is the CEO of Soft Tribe. We're grateful that you spent your money with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's 9:20. We have to take a break now. Helen, you got 2 cents to share?
I think everything has been captured very aptly by our resource persons. All the questions that I have re-echoed. Now we wait for the NDC to give us further and better particulars on some of these ideas because we still have questions to ask.